Hi, Taurus. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for November of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco, California.
Well, hey, Taurus, this month's themes revolve a lot around your close relationships, intimacy, and also sharing and debt. If you need clarification, anything Julia and I say here can be more fully explained in a lifelong love reading or a natal and transit reading if you wanted to focus on finances. You'll find the links for these readings in the text that comes with this video. The first piece of good news is that Juno retrograde is over. And if you've had a rough patch in your relationships in the last couple of months, basically from late July through late October, just take to heart the fact that it's over and you can move forward from here in a better way in your partnership. We made videos about Juno retrograde, which has been traveling along through your 11th house and so might have impacted you, especially in your friendships. We made videos in July, September, and October, and you will find those videos on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, in the playlists for those months, July, September, and October. So check that stuff out about Juno retrograde. It's been quite a thing and may have even ended with some drama. So the next thing I want to tell you about, though, is Ceres, which is traveling along through Virgo in your 5th house. Ceres is a planet of good self-stewardship. Ceres asks us to take good care of our material selves, like our bodies, and our material circumstances. In the 5th house, this is an interesting pairing because Ceres in Virgo is interested in working and cleaning and organizing, whereas the 5th house is a domain of pleasure and play and fun. So this could be a really good month for cleaning things up in your hobby cabinet or your hobby room, your craft room, whatever it is that you do for fun. It could probably use some organizing and cleaning out so that you can get more grounded in that fun thing that you do in a better way going forward. It's a funny thought, right? But I think that could be really enjoyable. Julia, I'm going to throw the ball to you because I know you have some news about Mars retrograde.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot going on with Mars this month, Taurus. So Mars is retrograde. This happens about once every 2 years, so less frequently than Mercury retrograde, for example. And Mars is a planet that rules action, activity, passion, our anger, all that stuff. And retrograde times are times of redo and review. So this cycle for you particularly is happening in your 2nd house. This is a house that rules all the things in life that make you feel physically and materially secure, such as money, the money you earn on your own, like through a paycheck or a business, as well as your possessions and your stuff, and values, like the values that you might have about, maybe religious values, political values, those values that are foundational to who you are. So this Mars retrograde cycle is going to happen for a couple of months, number of months here. And this can be a time of having to redo your actions, especially regarding how you've handled your possessions, as well as the money in your life too. This can also be a time of sort of frustration, maybe more conflict, more sort of feistiness regarding maybe your values and how you kind of discuss them or express them to other people, because this is in the sign of Gemini, the sign of communication as well. So yeah, this can be a bit of a frustrating money cycle coming up, and you might have to redo or review money in your life and your drive towards it as well, which is ruled by Mars. Now, Mercury, that's the planet that rules our mind, and it starts the month in your 7th house. That's the house of partnership, whether it's a romantic relationship or a business partner, for example. And when Mercury's in the 7th. It's it's a really great time where you could really get your best ideas by talking them out with another person. You want to share your ideas with one other person instead of just holding them yourself. And this might also be a time where you're thinking a lot about relationships too. If you're single, you might be thinking about your next relationship, what you want, or you might be preoccupied with your current one. Also a wonderful time for hiring consultants, anybody who you can discuss things which are ruled by Mercury to help give you some advice. Now, November 8th, very important day to keep track of because that's when Mercury directly conjoins the sun. And we call that Greater Epiphany Day because it's a time of insights and revelations. So this is happening in your 7th house. You could be having some clarification, some aha moments about your relationship or what you want out of your next relationship, or even about some of the contractors in your life too, whether they're doctors, lawyers, consultants of all kinds. Then on November 17th, Mercury enters your 8th house. This is also a money house too, but it represents more the money you share with other people, like with family or a partner, like through an inheritance or a joint credit card, or even money that you share with institutions like banks. So it can rule stocks and crypto and investments and all that kind of stuff. So big focus on money this month, especially during the second half. And when Mercury's in the 8th, you could be very preoccupied with planning and strategizing. Your 8th house matters, which are, maybe loans, maybe investments, crypto, those types of things. And the 8th house is also a house of investigation and research. So you might have a very sort of probing mind for the second half of the month, wanting to sort of dig down to get to the answers of things, maybe a little bit more preoccupied with mysteries too. And then Venus, the planet that rules your relationship, she starts the month in your relationship house, which is the 7th, where Mercury is as well. So a really nice time in your relationship with Venus there. Venus brings a little bit of pleasure wherever she goes, as well as harmony. So if you are in a relationship, it's the first half of the month will be a really lovely time for it, and also a great time to date if you're single. Then on November 15th, Venus is going to be in the 8th house along with Mercury, which is there for the second half of the month too. And this transit can add a little bit of luck into 8th house matters, the ones I was mentioning earlier. This could be a time where you pool your resources together more closely with your partner, like helping them get on your insurance, for example, or something like that, maybe opening up a joint credit card together, or maybe your partner gets a raise and shares it with you in some way too. And Venus in the 8th house is a wonderful time for more intimacy with your partner, doing psychological exploration with them, or even exploring each other more intimately too during this time, because, the 8th house sort of rules all of the taboo areas of life, which also involve sex. So Venus in the 8th can be a greater time of physical, psychological, and even financial intimacy in your life.
Definitely. I wanted to say a thing about Jupiter. Jupiter has been traveling back and forth between Aries and Pisces this year, and has just retrograded back into Pisces and will be in your 11th house this month. When Jupiter retrogrades back into a previous house, it's like your final chance to harvest some of the luck that Jupiter was trying to bring you months ago in this house. And the 11th house being the house of community, groups, and friends. This has been a wonderful time for growing and expanding your social connections, going out and joining groups and meeting new people. Also, this is a house of tech and the internet. So if you want to grow and expand your tech savviness, this is a good transit for that as well. Most particularly, November 23rd, Jupiter goes direct in this house. And that could be a time when such things that I've been describing can really come to fruition. So go to that meetup you've been thinking about. There are a couple of moons that I want to discuss. The first one happens on November 8th, right here, and it lands in your first house. This is a full moon, which means that the moon and the sun are opposite to each other, but it's also an eclipse, and that's because the nodes are nearby. And any eclipse is going to be emotionally intense And a lunar eclipse in particular really stirs the pot emotionally. Because this moon lands in your first house, Taurus, you might feel like it's very personal and like the emotions that it stirs up are coming from deep within you and are absolutely your own, and that you kind of runneth over with emotion during this eclipse. And you can expect to find yourself facing off against somebody, maybe in a partnership of some kind, whether, personal or professional, who is pushing back against your emotion. This moon, we're calling it physical freedom versus emotional entanglement. So it wouldn't be at all surprising, Taurus, if you are feeling strongly that you want to pull off on your own and have some space, whereas there's somebody in your life who's trying to sort of, snake a psychic cord over into you and sort of, tug on you in that way. So then the next thing I want to tell you about is the seasonal change. The sun shifts from Scorpio to Sagittarius. And here it is at the end of Scorpio. It's been traveling along through your 7th house of partnership. And when it changes signs, it moves into your 8th house of intimacy. And you've probably noticed that over the course of this month, much of the planetary activity was happening in your 7th house of partnership. So bringing up a lot of relationship themes, partnership themes, collegial themes. And then over the course of the month, that energy shifts into the 8th house, which is also a partnership house, but is much more enmeshed and entangled. It's really a house of merging and sharing. And this is where the financial themes emerge, the themes to do with, who do you share money, who do you share monies with, such as in a spousal relationship, and who do you invest in emotionally or financially. So this is where the theme of debt comes up. And wherever the sun goes, we want to shine the sunlight of our high quality attention, because that way things can thrive and flourish in this area. So when the sun enters in the 8th house, it's kind of like bringing a flashlight into a dark room. You may have to shine it in all of the corners to see everything that needs to be seen here, because the 8th house is one of the water houses of the chart. It's kind of a hidden area. So when the sun is in the 8th house for this 30-day period starting November 22nd, I recommend that you take a look at the finances that you share with a spouse or a business partner and really become aware and conscious of what is going on there. Look at those spreadsheets, even if it's not something that you generally like to do. Okay. Then the last thing I want to tell you about is the new moon in Sagittarius. Best view of it is like this. The moon and the sun meet up here in that 8th house. This moon is a really joyous moon. It's very light, it's very hopeful, and it's actually a really great time for manifesting what you want. And that's because the moon in Sagittarius already has a very ebullient nature to it. But this one also forms a lovely trine over here to Jupiter, which is in Pisces, a sign that it traditionally rules. So Jupiter is very comfortable there. We call this Jupiter the Gentle Giant, and there's a video about it in our 2022 news playlist on our YouTube channel. So this moon plays off of that wonderful Jupiter energy. And we call it this moon the wisdom of foolish hope, because it has so much positivity and optimism wrapped up with it that it's downright unrealistic, but it's the kind of positivity that is so infectious that good things are likely to come out of it, even if they seem impossible at the outset. And so I like to imagine the archer aiming with the arrow towards the moon, and you're not necessarily going to hit the moon. Well, you're definitely not going to hit the moon, but the arrow can fly further and faster because of overshooting. You can find out more about these moons this month on our November 2022 news playlist on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end. And if you enjoyed it, please do like, share, and subscribe. Mars retrograde is also featured on our November 2022 news playlist and on our monthly forecast page at our website, pandoraastrology.com. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.